Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh and a very good day everyone. Today we are going to look into identifying and applying inductive reasoning patterns in an argument, yeah? So basically, these are the contents for this week. We are going to look at what are the key questions in evaluating an argument, what are the types of arguments, what are the common patterns of inductive reasoning, and we are going to look at inductive strength. So basically, this week we are just going to focus on inductive arguments and inductive reasoning. They are basically the same, yeah? Now, let us look, when we are evaluating an argument, um, there are two types of questions, or perhaps we may need to have these two questions whenever we want to evaluate any argument. Number one, we ask the question whether the premises are true. And number two, do the premises provide good reasons to accept the conclusion? So in this chapter, we are going to focus solely on the second question, and that is, do the premises provide good reasons to accept the conclusion? Now, in any argument or arguments per se, they're divided into two categories. We have the first one, deductive arguments, and the second one, inductive arguments. And for the sake of this week, we will just be looking at inductive arguments. Now, what is basically inductive arguments? Inductive arguments simply claim that their conclusions are likely or probable given the premises offered. Now, all I can say is how to differentiate between deductive and inductive. Inductive arguments, we are just looking at the conclusions, whether the conclusion are likely or probably to be true, or probably to be true based on the premises. So, meaning to say, if you look at the conclusion and you're not sure, maybe, likely, there's a chance, most likely, or probably it is true, or probably it is wrong. Therefore, the whole argument is considered as inductive arguments. Now, let me show you some examples here. Let us look at the first example. Polls show that 75% of Republicans favor a school prayer amendment. That is your first premise. Polls show that 75% of Republicans favor a school prayer amendment. Joe is a Republican. That is your second premise. Therefore, Joe likely favors a school prayer amendment. Now, there's a word likely. Likely means there is a possibility. So when there is a possibility, meaning to say you are not really sure, we are not certain that that is the conclusion, there is a probability, there is a possibility, because when we look at the first premise, 75%, Joe could be part of this 75%. Therefore, Joe could be the one likely to favor the school prayer amendment. So, automatically, this whole argument is inductive argument. I hope you can get like a picture right now, yeah? Now let us look at the second example. Every ruby so far discovered has been red. So probably all rubies are red. So can you see the word probably there? Meaning to say, the one that been discovered so far, they're all red. Well, we have not come across rubies that are not red. But then again, the possibility of having future rubies to be discovered in red are there. But there is also another possibility that, we might be the first person to discover blue rubies, for example, instead of red one. So as you can see here, the word probably indicates inductive arguments. Now let us look at the last example here. The bank safe was robbed last night. That is your first premise. Whoever robbed the safe knew the safe's combination. Second premise. Only two people know the safe's combination. Lefty and Bugsy. Your third premise. Bugsy needed money to pay his gambling debts. Fourth premise. Bugsy was seen sneaking around outside the bank last night. Sixth premise. It is reasonable to conclude, therefore, that Bugsy robbed the safe. That is your conclusion. Now let us look at the conclusion. You have the word it is reasonable to conclude. Based on the premise, and all premises are true, but there is also another unlikely conclusion or another likely conclusion that Bugsy could just not rob the bank. Although he happened to be there, although he happened to know the safe number or combination, but not necessary. There's also another possibility. Could be Lefty. So when there is a possibility and we are not certain about the conclusion, automatically that argument itself is inductive. I guess by just presenting these three examples, you may have already had a general idea what inductive argument is all about.